Hi, Mr. Brian. It was actually a big pleasure to see you teaching the class. This is your first year teaching, and when I saw you, you look like you've been teaching for a very long time. Last week, when we sat together, I explained to you, the new walkthrough form, what I was going to be expecting from all the teachers, and I see that you brought it, and I see that you put some check marks, basically the assignment that I gave you. So before we even start going through the walkthrough form, I just want to ask you, what is your feeling about the class that you were teaching that day? Well, my feeling was I was a little bit nervous. I mean, of course, you being there and recording, it was kind of nerve breaking, but I think it went pretty well. Being my first year teaching, and I prepare myself every time I'm gonna be teaching my classes, and and specifically on this lesson, it was a very exciting lesson. So I made an effort to create an activity where the students were gonna be showing what they learned and me guiding them through the process. So I think overall, I think the class did pretty good. I mean, all the students were engaged. They were asking questions and they were participating. So I think overall, I think they did really good. I'm really proud and happy with the job they did. Yes, I agree with you. I think that you were very natural. You did very good doing the observation, and you show knowledge for the content, and you had a really nice activity for the student, and that goes together with the classroom and instruction. I see that you put a check mark on all of them, and I did too, except for three things that I want to ask you to go more into detail. So, for example, the classwork from student visible in the classroom. Can you explain a little bit how was that demonstrated in your class? Well, I did created the class at the beginning of the year, and I do add some stuff throughout the classroom. But now that you're talking and you mention it, I probably should be putting a little bit more. I mean, it's a science class, like you said, and uh, I think I will be putting a little bit more of the classwork that we've been doing. Okay, yeah, I saw that your classroom was decorated, but I didn't put it a check mark because I mean, it's a science class, so I was expecting to see, volcanoes or projects that you've been working on. So for me, I miss a little bit more. So, for example, when parents come in and visit your classroom, they're gonna see what their kids are doing. So that is why I would love to see a little bit more of the classroom from the students, classwork. So I mentioned that I saw that you talked about the objectives of what they were gonna be doing. I didn't put a check mark on this one because when you mention it, sometimes the students can forget. So it's important for you to write them down somewhere in the front of the class, and at the beginning of the class, you talked about it, and you also mentioned to the students that the objective of the day is going to be in the front of the classroom. So in case they forget, they can always go back and look at the front of the classroom and remember what they're actually learning that day. um, we're going to move on to the student engagement. In the student engagement, can you please tell me a little bit about how you felt the students were doing in the class? I think they did pretty good. They usually are. Since the beginning of the school year, I made sure that I was clear with the expectations of the classroom, and that every time I say something, that they have to be listening and to raise their hand and to participate. So I think they some, of course, you want everybody to be 100%, uh, paying attention. Sometimes you have a few that might be a little bit distracted. So I think, but in general, they did they did good. Okay. My other question in regards to student engagement, how can you create the opportunity for the students to ask more questions? Well, I think that in this project, I mean, it didn't have that. It didn't give the opportunity for the students to ask questions. It was more of a, okay, this is the activity, and here are the steps. So I think in the future I will need to create an activity where it would demand the students to create their own questions, and to challenge them a little bit more about to checking for understanding, and if they understand the material, and how I can and how can they demonstrate me that they're paying attention and they understanding the material. I also saw one of your students walking, leaving your classroom and then coming back, but I didn't see that he actually asked you for permission to leave the room. And I also some other students playing around a little bit while you were talking. Can you tell me a little bit about how you implemented your classroom procedures and rules? Yes, as I mentioned, since the beginning of the school year, I made sure that the classroom procedures were clear. That student that left, he has a medical condition, so he has a permit to leave the classroom, just to give me a little sign that he's going to be leaving the classroom, and so I don't need to be questioning him or nothing like that. And he's very good at it as well. So I mean, yes, it's sometimes kind of difficult to trust him, but he has shown that I can trust him, and I never had any trouble with him. So as long as he gives me a little sign that he will be stepping out of the classroom, I'm okay with that. And I actually have in the corner of the classroom rules and procedures. So walking around the classroom, I mean, there was also little Stephanie walking around to get a computer. So as long as they're not making noise and they're not being disruptive, I'm okay if they stand up to get something. They don't need to ask for permission, otherwise they're going to be 15 of them asking me to do something. So I'm allowing them to, even though they're kids, I'm giving the opportunity for them to, some responsibility, and giving them a little bit of trust of what they can do by themselves without having to ask for permission. My other question is going to be in regards to the alignment of instruction. So, how are you creating your lesson plans? Being my first year, and I think every year they have PLCs once a week, where we get together, we talk about what are we going to be covering for the week, if we're going to be giving any assessments, and what are the activities that we're going to be doing. So during these PLCs, I take advantage of creating my lesson plans, and also talking to my mentor. I usually talk to my mentor twice, 3 times per week, and once I create my lesson plan, I will show it to her, and then she gives me feedback and how I can actually teach the content. Sometimes I don't know the material that well, so asking her gives me a little bit of being more confident about the topic. And also she will guide me through a mini lesson, and I will go observe her as well. So using all these tools that the school has provided, I create my lesson plans. Okay, being a science class, creating different lesson plans, well, not creating different plans, but actually modifying and accommodating the different kind of learnings that you have in class. Can you explain a little bit what you do in your class to be able to accommodate all these different styles and the different needs of the students? I think when working in the PLCs, that was something that I at the beginning of the school year, I didn't know. And having a classroom with 20 kids, and each kid has a different learning style, different needs. I make sure that, for example, in this project, I provided notes where they can go through them step by step. We use technology. So I usually try to do activities where the different learning styles will be used. Some of my students with my SPED students, I try to modify the assignment to make it a little bit more simple, um, giving them more time to create that activity. As you saw, some students were, a little bit slower in the using the computer, following the steps. So I didn't push them and force them that they had to be at the same time and speed of my other students. I let them kind of like, okay, if you're not done, don't worry about it. But you're gonna catch up, and if you have any questions, I will help them. I will walk to them and make sure that they were actually engaged. For me, that's key. They might not be the same speed as my other students, but they were engaged. They're doing the work and they're learning. So for me, that was very important when I was doing the class. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next section, which is rigor of instruction. What are some ways that you can create a more challenging environment for your students? I've been talking to the other science teachers and how can we challenge our students um, when doing the activities. For example, last time I kind of created an activity where they had to actually whatever they were learning, how they were gonna put it in the real world. And I think as teachers, we want them to learn the material, but also the important thing, and what I've learned in the with the other teachers, it's how are they gonna be using that material, that what they learn, those skills. And in the activity that I did with the other teacher, they actually were participating, and they were showing us what they learned by actually um, creating a project, which was really really good, and I would like to show it to you whenever you come to the class again. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Brian. So these were the four major things that I wanted to discuss, and this is going to be the new walkthrough form. As I mentioned to you before, I'm going to be conducting three major observations, and these are the things that I'm going to be covering. So I just want to summarize a little bit about what we spoke today and the things that I feel that you can improve a little bit. Um, but I think overall you did an amazing job. So let's. I'm going to summarize first what about the classroom instruction, and that was it. The big thing that I want to see next time I come to your classroom is have more class work from students. I saw that you guys did some projects last week, and those projects are in the back of the classroom. I want to see those spread out throughout the classroom, especially on Thursday. Today's Tuesday. On Thursday, we have parents coming to the school to meet the teachers, and I think that by you decorating the classroom with all the students' work, I think that was gonna be really really good, especially parents looking at their kids' work, and they will be so proud of how good they're doing. And you also, I mean, it's your first year, and you want to show off what you are able to teach these students. Also, I spoke to you about the objectives. I think it's very important to have those objectives in the front of the classroom. Even though you tell them, but they're kids, they're gonna forget. And by you writing those objectives in front of the classroom, that's gonna help students remember. And actually, next time I come in, that's gonna I'm gonna ask one of the students, hey, what are you guys learning today? So if in case they forgot, they can always look in the front of the classroom, and they can tell me what they're learning. Also, for example, for student engagement, today's activity, it was they were doing something. You provided a script with steps of what they needed to do. You provided the material, and but I want to see them, asking you questions, a little more interactive. At the beginning they spoke to each other, trying to remember what they learned the day before, but asking you questions about the material and how what would happen if they did something else. So for them, for that, create that curiosity of the student to ask you what will happen if this is done, or why would this happen. So you will be developing a higher learning or higher level of thinking for the student. In regards to the alignment of instruction, I think in this case, yes, you show the students using technology, doing the activity, but how can you be able to differentiate the instruction a little bit more? So as we spoke before, the class has different kind of learning styles, different needs of students. So how can you create your lessons to be more differentiating the learning and the style of the student? In regards to the rigor of instruction, this is something that I want all the teachers to be doing. I want this, for example, in today's lesson, they were remembering what they learned the previous day, and they were actually doing something today. But how about creating something for the real world? um, so for example, creating a light, that's something that is the real world. How is that created? So I leave it more of real life activities. But I think overall you did an amazing job. You know that I'm here if you need any help, if you have any questions. So please just come to me. I saw that you are really taking advantage of the PLCs. You are taking advantage of your mentor. But as a new teacher, I mean, there's a lot to learn, and the district and the school provides also different trainings, for how to differentiate your lessons. And being a new teacher, it's always kind of hard to do that, how to identify the styles of the students as well. So if you need any of those trainings, you can always ask me or ask your department head to enroll you for one of those trainings, and we will be more than happy to let you go. And actually those trainings will actually, in those PLC you can talk about them, and also other teachers will benefit from it. So once again, thank you for letting me come to your classroom and to be able to give you this feedback. Mr. Cano, thank you so much for all your help, your feedback, and I will all the feedback that you gave me, I'm definitely gonna use it and implement it next time. You come for the observation, and I'm also gonna be continue asking my mentor and the other teachers, to help me get more confident in my lessons, to come up with other activities, more challenging activities, more interactive activities. So and I know that if I need any help, I can always count on you and my department head as well, for to get extra help. So thank you so much. Well, thank you, Mr. Brian. I cannot say how happy I am to see you in my school, to see your possibility, to show how much you show that you care for the students, how passionate you are. And I just want to say thank you so much for everything that you're doing for us. And it's your first year. I mean, I cannot remember how my first year was. I think it was crazy, but how you show. I mean, how you're teaching your class, it shows that you've been teaching for a very long time. So I just want to say thank you so much, and you know that I'm here for you, and your department head is here for you. Your teachers, other teachers are here for you as well. And I mean, I can see that this is something that you are passionate about, and I just want to say thank you for caring for my students, our students, and and I can see that you're working with other teachers, and that collaborating with them, it's essential if you want to succeed as a teacher, especially as a new teacher. Getting the help from everyone else, it's key for your success. So once again, thank you, and come to me if you have any questions.